Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the share. Chassidus in the morning, 15 minutes. Lessons in Heichaltzu. Okay, we'll have to Parak Yud Gimel. So yesterday we were talking about the way of serving God with love, recognizing, appreciating how God created the world, Yesh Ma'ayin, that every single moment He's invested within us to make our world exist. And how amazing when you think about that and you understand that thinking about that means you have to know what it means. It's like let's say a game of like a sport that you don't know about. You can't think about it. It's like, I'll tell you Australian football. Probably most of you, if anyone knows what that means. So I can't tell you. I can't sit there for 2 minutes and tell you what it is and then say, think about it. There's brain on it. Really contemplate on it. Why? Because you don't know it. So too with this idea. If we don't know it as well, and the way we know it is we start thinking about it and see how long it can take us. Either we know for sure we don't know it, or we think we know it, so we start thinking about it, and then you'll see how long you can last. And if you're like stuck, that means you need to learn more. Whereas let's say we talk about Australian football, I could sit and talk for a long time because I know it, I grew up with it, I played and things like this. So that's what we're saying. When you think about these things and you think about how God is created the world, and the difference between Ilu v'Alu and Yesh Ma'ayin, like we talked about that theater and how it's constantly playing, and that's why we see the screen. Without that, so the more you think about it, that will produce within you a desire. And the word he uses is very nice. He goes, vidabek nafshe belekus, and you'll cleave your soul to godliness, b'dvika v'chashika, with a cleaving and a desire, v'nefesh keika, and a thirsty soul to godliness. And that's all will happen. We talked about this, a very similar concept in Kuntres. And this is all what we're talking about. That's one way. That's through the love of God, either recognizing how He creates the world or how great, how awesome He is. That is, in safe. Now we're going to talk about the humility. So just a preface, an important thing to understand when we talk about humility, humility never means that you put yourself down to make yourself feel worthless. It's totally not what it means. And we're going to see, and you're going to read it, and you have to pay attention to what he's saying. But when you'll see, humility recognizes how small I am in comparison to God. That's humility. That's what we're talking about, essentially. We'll see. So 13, page 98. In the previous chapter explained that there are two approaches to Avodah: divine service through joy, and service through humility. This chapter discusses the first approach. That chapter discussed the first approach. So we talked about with joy, and now talking about humility. But if in our base, so the second way, the humility, the way of serving God through humility, who Avodah b'chinas shiflus dafka. This is through the Avodah of lowness, b'chinas mirirus, bitterness al rechukai, on your distance. Now, Tanya talks about this difference between being bitter and being depressed. If you want to know if you're being bitter or being depressed, the simple equation you ask yourself is, what is this leading me to do? When you're bitter about something, it causes you. When you're bitter about something, it bothers you and it causes you to change. When you're depressed, that causes you to be lethargic and not do anything. And this is a simple way to test. If you want to put yourself, if you say, I recognize who I am, I recognize that I haven't, let's say a person hasn't davened for the last 6 months, whatever it is, I haven't been nice to my friends, I haven't been, whatever it is, whatever everyone has for themselves. That thought, how do you know it's coming from a good place? If it's miriras, if it's bitterness, if it bothers you, and it causes you to change that it's coming from the right place. And because it could be that you could be telling yourself things that are totally true. That it could be, that you're doing things that, a person is eating non-kosher. But if it's coming from a depression, it's not coming from a good place. You're not coming to help yourself. It could be true, but it's irrelevant if you know truly what's wrong, if you're not actually going to do anything about it. because when you're depressed, it just makes it worse. And this is meriros, bitterness. Bitterness is a powerful thing. It's like, it bothers me. I should be better than this. And this is what he's talking about. You're bitter over the fact that you're distant from God. And it bothers you. I want to be closer to God. I live my life and I can recognize that I'm very distant from God and I want to be much more connected. What does that mean? What does it mean that you're separated from God? When you make an accounting, you pay attention to what's going on in your life. All your thoughts, speech, and action that aren't going towards God. So you pay attention. You say, listen, in my day, I'm spending really minimum amount of time with God. And the rest of the day, I'm doing anything. I'm totally engrossed in the world. I don't even think about God at all. My thoughts, my speech, and action, they're not God-centric. And even not in forbidden things. We're not talking about necessarily. He's saying, no, I'm talking about something that's us. Just typical daily interactions. They're not infused with a godly purpose. And like we talked about before a little bit, you can be eating for a godly purpose, so I can have a proper day and I can be healthy and I can have a davening like I mentioned. I can be nice to my friends and I can make a kiddush Hashem. Or you can eat because it tastes good and my stomach likes it, essentially. So that's what he's saying. We're not talking about even something else. For sure, something else is a problem, but just simple things. We're not doing it for that reason. We're doing permissible things. It's kosher. It's totally 100% permissible, but it's not for godly intent. Shehem gamkein ra, which is also good. Well, also not good. But like we said, like I talked about in Tanya, that you have to mekadesh atzmecha b'mutalach. You have to sanctify yourself. Like he says here, he has in this footnote. It's very nice. He goes, so in Klippa you have kedusha and klippas noga and sheshu smeis. Everything, or 95% of the world is klippas noga. It's a shell. It's covered a shell. It's covered with a shell, and basically you reveal what's going to happen to it. The way you interact with that is how it's going to happen. If you interact with it for the good, positive, then you elevate it. If you interact with the negative, then it can go down. And he says, like, yeah, he goes, Shem Ra. Ra doesn't mean wicked. When we say Ra, it means, he says over here, he goes, this is on the Alter Rebbe's unique contribution to Tanya. Until then, existence was defined in three categories: mitzvahs, or obviously positive, sins, transgressions of God's will, and then rishus, activities left to man's discretion. Rishus means you can do whatever you want, it's permissible. Parv, the latter was considered a gray area, neither good nor bad. The Alter Rebbe explained that when rishus is good or bad, whether rishus is good or bad is determined by man. When a person carries out permitted physical activities for a spiritual intent, for example, he eats in order to derive energy to serve God, then eating is a positive spiritual activity, similar to a mitzvah. However, if he eats merely to fulfill his appetite, even if he recites the blessing beforehand and afterwards, he's doing something separate from God. And it doesn't mean necessarily that you have to come before each bite and say, I'm eating l'shem shemayim. It means, what am I doing today? How's my day looking? And how can I be the best Jew I can be? And let's say you go to work. So it means that I know when I go to work, I'm going to make sure to be a nice person. I make a kiddush Hashem if you work amongst non-Jews. And if you're working with Yidden, you say, I'm going to have Avos Yisrael. I'm going to do my job properly. That's what I'm meant to be doing. That's what I'm meant to be here. So now, in order for that to happen, what do I need to do beforehand? I need to eat. What am I going to eat? Am I going to eat something like? Let me make a choice. It's going to be a healthy choice. That's going to be beneficial for me to have the energy that I can have throughout the day. And then when you eat, your thoughts behind your eating is a good thought coming from a good place. And that's how you sort of start it. It's a thought process of what am I doing? And then, like we talked about before, that like your whole world is in sync because I'm eating so I can have a good day, and I'm having the good day based on what I've done. So my eating becomes part of the process. Whereas it could be I'm eating what I like, because I like it, and then I have to work because I have to work, and then I'm going to go learn later, and then I have to go learn. They're three separate things. But whereas here we're saying you can make one thing. But ultimately, most of the things in the world are this rishus that Tanya teaches us that without chassidus, it's fine. As long as you make a bracha, you're good to go. Whereas with chassidus, Alter says, no, it doesn't work that way. Every life is not compartmentalized. It's all one. It's unity. And therefore, when you eat, it also is part of the avodah. Yeah. And so too, gam ba'asiyas hatov. So therefore, also when you do the good things, and therefore, because your whole machshavah ma'isa aren't proper, so then even when you come to daven and learn, it's not proper. Remember, this is a thought process you're having, essentially recognizing where you're truly holding, being a mar de chushbana, a master of accounts, paying attention to where you're actually holding, and when you realize that you're not nowhere near where you could be, that's also, again, it's not to put yourself down, but to recognize how far you could be. Yeah, part of the mariras, the bitterness, is recognizing that I could be much further along. I could be much closer to God. I have much more potential. And then when you make this accounting, it's not putting yourself down, but it's bothering you that you could do a lot better. And that's what it's motivating. It has to be motivating. That's what he's saying. So when you recognize all these things, also when you realize you're turning mitzvahs, I could be doing so much better. Okay, you're doing like it's known the whole mitzvah yeshba kavana practice ba'avodah, and every mitzvah has a specific purpose. Like for example, tefillin, heim, the shabbat merchalei. The purpose of putting on tefillin is to subjugate your mind and your heart to God. That your mind and your heart should turn to God, only to God. Not that my heart has desires to cleave to God, and also desires for the ice cream, and a desire to play, and a desire to all these other things, but my desire is for God. It can express itself in doing all these other things. Could be through that desire also go play and also go hang out with my friends and have and hang out. But it's all stemming from the same desire. That's how it should be. The dalad minin shablo, like for example, the 4 species of the lulav. Heim, shiyu, b'chinas, achtus, which is an idea of achtus. Besrog, rashetevos, al tevienu, tevieni, regel, gaiva. Like esrog, the rashetevos of esrog, the first letter of the esrog spells out Tevieni rega gaiva, that I should not come to even a foot of pride. And furthermore, yesh kavana klali b'chol mitzvahs. A general kavana in mitzvah shiyu b'chinas kabbalah sa'ol machol shemayim, that should be subjugated to God, that it should be God is my boss. Explain in Tanya Perak Memalev, base kavanas, and discuss all these 2 types of intentions. So therefore, this is how it's meant to be ultimately. This is how you meant to do it. This is the best way of doing it. So what happens if I'm not doing it this way? Oh, you only do it in a very cold way or just by rote. It's a famous saying, mitzvahs anashim ulmada, habitual. It's mitzvahs of learned people. It means because they've learned so much, they just like they already know it. You do it. It's like people daven just like done by heart and just your mind's elsewhere. There's a hopefully I'll remember and I'll say a quick story afterwards. Befrat and specifically and even more when you contemplate on the greatness and the wondrousness of God, that according to the truth, that his exaltedness and his greatness, even the true avodah that you do is really insignificant. We consider like a sin. We have to, I guess, go back on this tomorrow. It's a whole thing. I don't want to go over time too much. Basically, essentially, the point is, what we're saying here is another way of working on yourself to bring yourself in a good position to be able to have true obviously soul is recognizing, is being a master of accounts for yourself and recognizing that I'm not as great as I could be. I was talking to a friend of mine, it's his birthday, and we're talking, and I said to him, whatever, I think one of the things that, like, I know I had this for a long time, and I've sort of worked on it a lot, but it's like we're very hard on ourselves, and we think it's chassidish for some reason to be on like hard on yourself, but we don't realize it's not coming from a mariras, it's not coming from a bitterness that we stop lifting, but it comes from like a depression type, or just it debilitates you. So I was saying, I'm scared that when I come to Shemayim, they're going to show me, they say when you come to Shemayim, they're going to show you, like the joke goes, not a joke, it's a serious thing. They show you a video of what you did and what you could have done. And so what do you think of it? What does that make you feel? It's like, oh, I better not do anything wrong because everyone's going to see, and everyone stands around watching this video with you. It's like, everyone's going to see all the things. That's not good. We don't want that. It's embarrassing. But I said I'm worried not because of everyone seeing, but I'm worried because I'm going to see on the video how much I could have achieved, and I could have been so much greater, and we just held ourselves back, and when we gave ourselves all these excuses why we didn't achieve. But we're here and we can achieve so much, and this is sort of the bitterness that we're talking about. That you recognize how distant you are from God and how much you want to get closer, and you make that your goal in life. It's like, yeah, and that's sort of the idea that we're talking about. That I want to recognize this, and when you have this, it brings you to a bitterness, but it's a healthy bitterness. A healthy business, it motivates you to push on, and when you do that, you get a lot more connected, and you push yourself more. And this is sort of what he's discussing in this chapter. To be continued tomorrow.